Hello. Today we're looking at Customer Effort Score, or CES, a deceptively simple metric that answers one question most businesses overlook. How easy are you to do business with? By the end of this, you'll know what CES is, why it predicts loyalty so well, how to run the survey, and what to do with the results. Let's start with the problem it solves. Here's a scenario that plays out constantly. A customer contacts support, gets their issue resolved, and you send them a satisfaction survey. They rate it fine, but they never come back. Something about the experience put them off, and your satisfaction score didn't catch it. The truth is, satisfaction alone doesn't always predict whether someone will stay loyal. Something else matters more, and it's not how much you impress them. The core idea behind CES is counterintuitive, but backed by solid research. Customers don't need to be wowed. They need things to be easy. When an interaction is effortless, people stay loyal and recommend you. When it's frustrating, when they have to call twice, navigate a confusing website, or repeat themselves, they leave, and they tell others. Reducing friction keeps customers. Creating it drives them away, even when the outcome is ultimately fine. This whole concept comes from a study published in Harvard Business Review, and the finding was striking. Reducing customer effort is a stronger predictor of loyalty than trying to delight people. Companies that focused on making interactions easier outperform those trying to wow customers with above and beyond service. The data was clear in two directions. Customers found things easy were far more likely to stay and recommend, while customers who struggled were far more likely to leave and warn others. Easy beats amazing. So what is Customer Effort Score? It's a metric that measures how much effort a customer had to put in to get something done. And it's always asked immediately after a specific interaction. Not a general "how do you feel about us" check-in, but a targeted question right after one particular moment. A return, a support call, a purchase. One question, one moment, one powerful signal about whether that experience was smooth or painful. The question itself is simple. How easy was it to handle your return, resolve your issue, complete your order? People rate it on a scale from 1, very difficult, to 7, very easy. Two things to notice. First, the wording always names the specific interaction. It's not a vague "how easy is it to deal with us?" Second, it's rated on a 7-point scale rather than the 5-point scale you might use elsewhere, which gives more room to pick up meaningful differences at both ends. The 7-point scale breaks into 3 meaningful zones. 1 through 3, the red zone, means high effort, something went wrong or felt harder than it should. 4 is neutral, not painful, but not smooth either. And 5 through 7, the green zone, means low effort, a genuine, easy experience. Higher is always better, and your CES is simply the average score across all the responses you collect. The single average is what you track and compare over time. Let's ground this in a concrete scenario. A customer bought shoes from an online retailer called QuickShip. They didn't fit. She needed to process a return, find the return policy, fill in a form, print a label, drop off the package. The return eventually gets resolved. Now right at that moment, while the experience is fresh, we send the CES question. How easy was that? What she tells us is what we're about to learn to measure. CES is always transactional. It's tied to one specific interaction, not a general relationship check-in. And the timing is critical. You send it immediately after that interaction is completed, while the experience is still fresh in the customer's mind. Common trigger points include right after a support call or chat closes, after a return or refund is confirmed, after a customer completes a purchase, or after they finish onboarding. The trigger is what makes CES work. The closer to the moment, the more accurate the score. Step 1 is writing the question, and the key is naming the specific interaction clearly. How easy was it to process your return today is exactly right. How easy do you find quick ship is too vague, it could mean anything, and the answer won't point you to anything fixable. The rule is simple. One question, one specific interaction, one clear ask. If the customer just processed a return, ask about the return. If they just finished a support chat, ask about the chat. Step 2 is adding one open-ended question right after the score. What, if anything, made this difficult? This is the question that makes the whole thing actionable. A CES of 3.2 tells you something went wrong, but it doesn't tell you what. Was the return form confusing? Was the website hard to navigate? Was wait time too long? Were the instructions unclear? The open-end answers those questions directly, which means low scores become a list of things to fix, not just a number to worry about. Step 3 is getting the logistics right. Survey people immediately after the specific interaction. Ideally, automate the trigger so it fires the moment the ticket closes or a refund is confirmed. Watch for response bias, where only the very frustrated or the very happy bother replying. That can skew the score in either direction, and aim for enough volume per touch point that your average is stable. A CES based on 12 responses isn't telling you much. A few hundred, and you can trust the number. Here's the whole CES survey, and notice how short it is. The trigger fires when the interaction completes. Then the CES question. How easy was it to process your return? Then the open end. What, if anything, made this difficult? Then, optionally, one or two profiling questions. That's it. This brevity is a deliberate feature. People answer right in the moment, right after the experience, so a short survey gets remarkably high response rates compared to something longer. How do you interpret the number you get? The most important thing is, don't obsess over the absolute score. A 5.2 sounds good, but whether it's good depends on your baseline and your trends. What you really want to watch is whether the score is rising or falling over time. A drop signals growing friction somewhere. And compare across touchpoints. Is the returns experience harder than support? Is checkout harder than onboarding? Those comparisons tell you where to focus more than any single number ever will. When your score drops, the open-ended answers are where you go. Read through them and group the themes. Maybe a cluster of people say the return form is confusing. Another group says wait times were too long. Another says instructions were unclear. Each theme is a friction point, something making the experience harder than it should be. Prioritize the themes that appear most often, because fixing those moves the needle for the largest number of customers. Low CES scores aren't problems, they're a to-do list. Let's be balanced. The strengths of CES: it's simple, fast, and has one of the highest response rates of any survey type because it's so short. It's highly actionable. Low scores point directly to friction points, and it's a strong predictor of churn, which makes it genuinely valuable to the business, not just a feel-good metric. The limitations: it measures one interaction, not the overall relationship, so it won't catch a customer who's quietly disengaging between touchpoints. It doesn't capture emotional loyalty, and a smooth, easy experience doesn't help if the underlying outcome was bad. If the return took 3 weeks, how easy was the form isn't really the question. 6 things to take with you. Customers need easy, not amazing. That's the insight the whole method rests on. Always ask right after the specific interaction, while the experience is fresh. Name exactly what they just did in the question. Always follow up with what made it hard. That's where the gold is. Track trends and compare scores across touchpoints. And focus your energy on fixing the friction, not on adding fanfare. Do those 6 things, and CES becomes one of the most actionable metrics in your whole research toolkit. Thank you for watching.